Welcome back to Murder with the Missus. I'm Darren.
And I'm Amy.
Featuring Haley.
Yes, ma'am. And today we're going to tell you about Leonard Dirickson.
Don't forget to smash that like button. Check out the description for the links of all of our podcast platforms, CashApp, and Buy Me a Coffee. Like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to tell your friends.
Do not forget to tell your friends. That's what Darren usually says. But he's not feeling well today, so he's off camera.
So again, you get me.
You get Haley.
Me.
She's here.
I'm right here.
All right, let's get right into this one. It might be a shorter one, but according to the National Missing and Unidentified Persons Database, that would be NamUs, if you've ever heard of it, they say that an estimated 600,000 people go missing in the United States every year. Obviously, sometimes it's more, usually it's less. Either way, damn. That's a huge number. And some go missing because they want to. They're getting away from their lives and starting new. And we've threatened that a time or two. After the kids moved out, Darren told them that we were going to get an RV and take off because they can't move back in if they can't find us.
Good times. Good times.
Jokes, of course. Maybe. But a large portion of that number didn't choose to disappear. Some assholes had made the choice for them. And Lenny's case, that's what we're going to call Leonard because that's what the people who knew him did, is one of those that you'll have to decide on your own. Obviously, when someone just disappears, theories are going to run wild. That's all you've got at that point. And if there's no clear-cut answers, people will fill in the blanks with what makes the most sense to them. And this is one of those cases. And is an Oklahoma case, so you've got that too. Now, to preface this, it, like I said, will probably be a shorter episode because there's really not a lot of information to go off of, and some of it contradicts the others. So I'll give it all to you since we don't know what details are right and what's wrong. And I don't want to say like the truck is widely reported as a single cab and someone calls, has a memory come up and like, oh, I remember one like that, but it was a double cab. And then they just dismiss it. You can't do that. If you have anything that fits most of your description, report it. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, sometimes it's the smallest detail that sparks a memory.
Absolutely right. So we are in Strong City, Oklahoma in 1998. Lenny was born on July 25th of 1958 to Norma and Don Dirickson. He was described as a good guy and a hard worker all of his life. At 18 years old, he married his high school sweetheart, Kathy. They built them a dairy farm in Strong City, and reports are that they raised pigs and, of course, cattle on the farm. They did have horses, too. Reports are that they had at least 15 horses. Most of them were kept in Elk City, and there was at least one stud horse on a ranch in Mobile, Texas. In 1996, Haley's kicking my desk. In 1996, Lenny and Kathy would end up getting a divorce, and they did fight over their two kids. Jared, their son, who was the oldest, and then they had a daughter, Connie. Now, Kathy lived in Hammond, and Connie would end up going to live with her. But Jared refused to live with Kathy. There's not a lot of information from this time to say why, but it's really none of our business. And Jared would stay in Strong City with Lenny. They were very close. Now that we know a little background, we can talk about March 14th of 1998. Jared had always helped work on the farm. He would even do chores and stuff before he went to school and would help all day on the weekends. Now, this day was a Saturday, so that was the plan. They just had a day of chores. Before 9 a.m., 16-year-old Jared and 39-year-old Lenny had breakfast to gear up for that long day. And right after they finished eating, a white truck pulled up. They didn't recognize the truck, so Lenny went outside to see what was up, and Jared just watched from the kitchen window while he was washing the dishes. He only saw the man through the windshield, and he and Lenny talked for a few minutes before Lenny came back into the house.
Did Lenny say who it was?
He did not, no. Jared would say that it was a friendly conversation from what he could tell, nothing alarming, but also nothing to indicate that Lenny knew who the man was either. Lenny came into the house to tell Jared that the man wanted to look at one of their stud horses to possibly buy one. They were going to go to Elk City to that farm and then to the Mobile farm in Texas. So he would be gone for quite a while. He told Jared to go ahead and go into Elk City and get feed because where they got feed, the feed store closed at noon. And then he needed to get the animals fed, and then Lenny would be back that afternoon. Then he got into the truck with the mystery man, and left. Now, Jared did what he was supposed to do that day, but Lenny wasn't back that afternoon or that night. Jared tried to wait up for him, but he fell asleep. The next morning, when he woke up, there's still no Lenny. He called around to family and no one had seen or heard from him. That afternoon, they called the Roger Mills County Police, and they came out and looked around the house. They called local hospitals. You know, they did the usual stuff when someone goes missing, but they got nothing.
Well, at least they took it seriously.
Exactly. Because it's only going to make less sense as we go along. So it's good that they came in when they did. There's no sign of a struggle, no foul play that they can tell so far, but it is odd that he would just leave with a stranger and leave his 16-year-old son alone. Jared and the family gave police a description of Lenny. He's about 5 foot 10 inches tall. He weighed about 200 pounds. He was wearing a faded black Carhartt coat with a hood, green jeans, and black or brown tennis shoes, or they could have been his hiking boots. And he had on a brown cap with a green bill that had the ACCO, it's ACCO Feeds logo on it. He had brown hair and gray eyes, and I'm sure you can tell by the case pic that he has a sweet, sweet handlebar mustache.
Gotta respect a handlebar mustache.
You have to, right? Now, this description is one of the things that has discrepancies because it's sometimes reported as him having gray hair and brown eyes, but mostly I see brown hair and gray eyes in his pictures, and there's not even a lot of pictures. He didn't get a good look at the man because he only saw him literally through the kitchen window and then through that man's windshield, but he knew that it was a newer model white Ford F-150. He was a white male. He had a reddish-brown beard, and he was wearing a hat that said, "No fear." And here's another discrepancy. Some reports say it was a single cab, and some say it was an extended cab. So that's why I said that at the beginning. I don't want you to rule one out just because it's said differently. Because it did have a yellow tag on the front of it, and based on the description of the license plate, they believe it was probably a New Mexico license plate. Now, a few things immediately stick out to the police in their investigation. They lived on back roads, so the house was not easy to find unless you knew where you were going. Also, the man came to buy a horse, but they hadn't advertised any horses for sale. So how did he know that Lenny had horses if he's a stranger? Now, you could chalk that up to word of mouth, I guess, but if the man came to buy a horse, why didn't he have a trailer with him?
Maybe he was just going to put it like in the cab and just like
seat
buckle
belt
it in.
in.
You know?
Yeah. Safety first. You got to protect those horses. And they also found that Lenny's most recent paycheck was just sitting on the table. Now, I know some people will wonder, why does he have a paycheck if he's a farmer? And we'll get into that in a little bit. But the police put the word out that Lenny's missing, and they hear that there's been a sighting. A waitress at a local diner/coffee shop. It's reported both ways, but it's also reportedly named the Kettle Restaurant in Elk City, so I'm going to say it's a diner. The waitress says that she saw Lenny and his mustache having breakfast with a man at about 11 a.m. Now, since we know that Larry was supposedly going to Elk City, this could be possible. But the people who knew Lenny said it would be very unlikely that he would eat at 9 a.m. and then turn around and eat again at 11, just 2 hours later. The waitress did say that the other man did eat food and did most of the talking, while Lenny just drank coffee. That was more believable. There was nothing that stuck out to her either, nothing that would cause alarm about their conversation. No one appeared to be in distress. No one appeared to be angry. It was just two dudes at a diner. And the waitress gave police a description of the mystery man, and it matched how Jared had described him. But she was able to add that he was in his early 40s. He was around 6 foot 2 inches tall and weighed about 210 pounds. He was right-handed. He was wearing that baseball cap that said "No fear," and he smoked Marlboro Light cigarettes. Now, they were able to do a sketch off of her description.
So it was them.
It seems to be. And you can see that sketch on the case pic. That's the one on the right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Cliff Gann, there he is. So Lenny's on the left with that majestic mustache.
His mustache.
And then that's No Fear hat guy on the right. Yep. Now, Cliff Gann, an inspector for the OSBI, which is the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations, said that they were sitting there in the restaurant and the unknown man, that we're trying to identify was doing most of the talking. And Leonard was just drinking coffee and listening to the man talk. Now, the police do go out to that stud barn there in Elk City, but there's no evidence that anyone had been out there that day. So add that to the list of weird shit in this case. Where had they been for 2 hours if they hadn't gone to the stud barn? It's only 30 to 40 minutes from his house to that diner or to that barn. So where were they for 2 hours? Police did find out some things that even Lenny's family didn't know, like that his divorce had left him struggling financially, that he had maxed out all of his credit cards, possibly, trying to keep up with the bills at the house and the fees at the farm. Like, that stuff costs money. And then the cost of feed went up, but the cost of milk went down. So there was more going out than what was coming in. And they say that in December of 1997, so just 3 months before he disappeared, that he had actually sold that dairy business.
Yeah, farming can be a rough business to be in.
It really can. It's up and down. And then when, like we said, when the cost of feed to feed the cows goes up, you're putting more into it, but the cost of milk goes down, so you're getting less profit. It really can cause a big hit to a small farm like this. Now, it's hard work too. And sometimes in our economy, it just doesn't work out. And I think that this might be a good spot to go ahead and take an ad break from our sponsor for today's episode. Do you or someone you know live in an apartment community? Are you balling on a budget? Make your money work for you.
Some apartments don't even offer a washer and dryer included in the lease. If you want that live, you need to contact My Laundry Solutions.
They service areas in Oklahoma, Missouri, and Texas. Their newest location is in Fort Worth, with more locations opening in Texas in 2025 and 2026. Check the website for locations near you. There's no credit check. Every contract includes free local service. They professionally install, and your account is available 24/7 online. Go to your leasing office, go to mylaundrysolutions.com, or call 800-535-4411.
Stop wasting your hard-earned money at the laundromat and give My Laundry Solutions a call today.
Give them a call. This is the part where Darren would tell you that they're great people. And
They're
it's a great
amazing.
company. Yes. And we just did a live last weekend and gave away money for them because they were like, hey, let's give back to the people. And so we did. So congratulations to everyone who won. Thank you for everyone who's watched it. And next time we have a live, come on and join us. You never know what kind of stuff we're going to get up to. We don't either. Now, in January of 1998, Lenny had started working at a local metal company. So his family knew that times were hard. They just didn't know how hard they had become. And Lenny was telling his parents that he really liked the work at the metal place. The Oklahoman reported that he liked it so much that his dad, Don, had even thought about buying the company for him.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just because he liked it.
Yeah, just because he liked it.
Dad, take notes.
Yeah. So I guess they have a lot of money. Like if you're talking about buying a company like that, why not go to your parents for money if your business is failing? Like that was another thing that kind of...
Yeah.
But they believe that he kept his financial problems a secret for the most part because he was determined to make it on his own. Or maybe he didn't want to look like a certain type of way, like he had failed or something like that. I don't know. You never know what people do in these situations. Now, it was 6 months later, after Lenny disappeared, that the next weird thing happened. Police got a phone call from a man in a bar in Amarillo, Texas. That's about 2.5 hours away. The man himself was from Elk City, and he knew Lenny. Hell, he was looking right at him. Lenny was in that bar, drunk, and wearing a blue checkered shirt. So police needed to get on down to the highway bar. This man wouldn't give him his name, but he did say that he would wait for the police to get there. So the cops head that way, but remember, it's 2.5 hours to drive, so they're going to be a minute. By the time they get to the bar, Lenny was gone, and so was the man who called. The bartender said that that man, the caller, was there, and he did say that Lenny was there. But the bartender didn't know Lenny and doesn't remember seeing him, just that the caller man had said he saw Lenny.
Oh, okay. So they don't know if it was Lenny.
Right. So the one guy who said, this is definitely him, is not there to say this was definitely him. So they're
And he
like,
was also drunk.
and he was drunk in a bar. Yeah. Now, the Roger Mills sheriff at the time, Joe Hay, said, we have no reason to disbelieve it. It would almost stretch the imagination that a guy would dance around in a bar screaming and hollering, it's Leonard, and it not be Leonard. I believe he was in that bar in Amarillo.
Or maybe homie was drunk and that guy just had a handlebar mustache.
That's highly possible. Not a lot of people have them, but they do have them. So you see one and you're like, that's got to be Lenny, right? He's the only guy I know who has a handlebar mustache. And the police had sat at that bar all night for work. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just kidding. Waiting to see if Lenny or the man would come back, but they did not. And that was it. That was the last reported sighting that they believe was actually credible of Lenny. So nothing is left except for 27 years of theories. Or is it? The family did come out and say that the police had a suspect in the case, a man who knew Lenny, a man who lived in Texas. But allegedly, he refused to allow investigators to search any of his properties.
So that's it. He just said no, and they were like, oh, okay, bye.
Okay, bye. Yeah, pretty much. According to them, yeah. They never searched in Texas that I know of. So I guess they're like, well, we tried. Sounds like they didn't have enough to go on to get a judge to give them a search warrant.
Yeah.
That's what I got from that. And let's talk about weird things and theories. I know we've already talked about a bunch of weird things, but there's more. Remember that they lived out in the country on the back roads, right? So it's believed that this mystery man would have had to have been told how to get there. Like he couldn't have just happened upon it and been like, oh, that must be Lenny's house. Or, oh, I see all those horses outside, because he didn't keep horses at his farm. He had them in other farms. So somebody had to tell him how to get there, right? He would have to be told that Lenny sometimes sold horses because that was his reason for being there. And like I said, there's no horses there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, he couldn't have actually planned on buying a horse that day because he had no trailer. Like, I'm with your seatbelt theory.
Yes, my seatbelt theory.
But logically, you would want him in a trailer.
Yeah.
Now, he was having money problems too, so it wouldn't be unheard of that he might jump at the chance to sell a horse and make some quick money. So that might be one explanation as to why he willingly got in that truck and went with a stranger.
Yeah,
And
they did say that the conversation was friendly.
Nothing
Yeah.
stood out. He didn't seem sketchy, besides his no fear hat, but that was very common in the 90s. And if someone did tell this man about Lenny, then why wouldn't that person come forward and say, well, I sent so-and-so out there. So-and-so was asking about a horse.
No, but that's if everything was on like the up and up, you know?
True. That only works if there wasn't some like shady shit going on in the background. But speaking of shady shit, drugs was another popular theory, but no one who knew him believes that he would go that far to make money. And that doesn't mean that maybe he didn't owe somebody some money, though.
True.
That if he did, that person might have sent an accomplice, like No Fear Hat Guy, out to lure Lenny away from the house on false pretenses to hurt him. So that's definitely another theory.
Yeah, but then I doubt he would be in a bar like 6 months later.
True, but that only works, again, if the bar theory is credible.
True.
Or the bar sighting is credible. Because that man that called the police wouldn't even give his name and then left when he said he would. Belief is that he had no intentions on staying at that bar to wait for them cops. And Lenny had also just gone through a divorce. Many people have, since the disappearance, have asked about Kathy. Like, was she mad? Was she mad enough to have somebody hurt him? Since they were already divorced, she wouldn't have necessarily benefited in any way if he was killed, like as far as money or the farm goes. And if that was the plan, they would need to be able to prove that he was dead in order for them to be able to collect, right? So a disappearance doesn't really help with that. So it likely would have had to have been emotionally motivated if it was in Kathy's direction. But surely everyone close to him were looked at and ruled out as having any involvement. Now, she was brought up in theories mostly because I think of the timing and the fact that Jared had fought to stay with Lenny over her. And he didn't even talk to her until the year after Lenny disappeared. After Lenny disappeared, he went to stay with his grandparents. He didn't even go to her. And it took literally another year for them to even talk. So I don't know what was going on between him and his mom.
Yeah,
but
I wonder, Kathy,
what's up? And maybe it was just because he was a 16-year-old boy and he wanted his dad, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You never know. But to not talk to your mom at all?
Yeah.
There were two main theories that seem to be widely believed to be most likely scenarios. One is that this man had a romantic connection to Lenny. Now, this was a small town in 1998 in Oklahoma, so there wasn't a lot of acceptance for homosexuals. And this kind of thing could actually ruin a man's business. And if your business is already going downhill, then maybe you keep that secret to try to protect the business and your family. We also don't know why he and Kathy got a divorce, so maybe that has something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And he could have just made up the story about going to see a man about a horse so that Jared wouldn't question it.
Okay, that could be a possibility.
Yeah, I could see that one. The other widely believed theory is that he just left. With the divorce, the debt, the business collapsing, it was all just too much, and he couldn't see a way out. Sheriff Hay from back in the day said that maybe he was working on a farm as a ranch hand somewhere, maybe in Texas. Maybe he would go out to the bars on the weekends in his blue checkered shirt and get drunk to wind down. The problem with that is that no one believes that he would do that. Well, plenty of the general public believes that he could, but not his family, especially Jared. Jared doesn't believe that Lenny would arrange for some stranger to come and pick him up, or even if he knew him, arrange for someone to come pick him up and then take off and leave with no explanation. He didn't even take his last paycheck and cash it to have money. And let's not forget about Connie. He has a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have had to leave both kids behind without a dad, without answers. Like, to be able to do that to your family is rough. Like, that's not an easy decision to make. His credit cards were maxed out, so he definitely hadn't used any of those since he left. And they believe he only had about $150 on him when he disappeared. So why not cash that check so you have more money to start over with if that's your plan? So I don't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
It really is just a mystery. His case was even featured on Unsolved Mysteries back in the day. And I didn't see the documents in the probate case, but I do see that the judge declared him deceased on June 6th of 2005. Don would pass away, that's his dad, passed away in 2015, and his mom, Norma, passed away in 2022. Lenny is listed on both of their obituaries in the pre-deceased sections. And the family has always believed that he met with foul play.
Yeah, it sounded like he did.
I think so too. And if he didn't, and he did just start over somewhere, he would be 66 years old now. Jared is now older than Lenny was when he disappeared. And he and Connie both have families of their own now. So that's all we have on this case. Literally 6 months after he disappeared, a guy seen him in a bar, allegedly, and that was it. There's nothing since 1998. Nothing.
Yeah,
It's just
that's a
so
long
odd.
time, yeah.
So if you have any information on Lenny's disappearance, you can call the OSBI at 800-522-8017. And if you like our content and want to contribute, we always accept likes, shares, subscriptions, telling your friends. We also have CashApp. Our cash tag is $MWTM pod.
We also have Buy Me a Coffee. Find us at buymeacoffee.com/MWTM. And don't forget to tell your friends as always.
As always. That's it. Bye.